What if the map was right, but the rescue was? In the next hour and 12 minutes, I'll walk you through 5 shipwreck survival cases that still feel haunted, not because we lack stories, but because the timeline on the charts refuses to line up with what people later claim to see. You can picture a coastline on a map, then try to work out where someone should end up based on drift, wind, and travel time. Now imagine the real world doesn't cooperate. Either people show up where they shouldn't be, or they don't show up where the clock insists they would. That mismatch is the whole theme of this video. We're not just retelling dramatic shipwrecks, we're treating them like a timeline puzzle. When I say map timeline, I mean this: the sequence of locations and dates that the ship's last known position, ocean currents, and search reports imply. Then we keep asking one thing: does the story line up with the map, or does the record shift? Because human memory, weather, and reporting all act like distortion filters. So we'll go entry by entry and check where the timeline breaks. This is a countdown from number 10 down to number 1. Each entry has its own mini-hook, its own weird sticking point, and its own payoff. Number 10 is about the mystery of the second chance that may not have been. Here's the setup people often remember. A ship goes down, people are lost, and later there's talk that survivors were found. But when you line it up with a map timeline, the story starts to wobble. Early reports suggest one thing. Later reports add sightings or recoveries, like someone kept inserting missing pages into the same book. The key issue is that sightings are descriptions before they're proofs. A lifeboat can be seen, a figure can be noticed, but without bodies identified or survivors giving a clear account, matching is guesswork. So the payoff is this: even if survival happened, later found claims can accidentally merge 2 separate events into one. The map timeline becomes a reality check, forcing coincidence away from confirmation. All right, number 9 is where the map timeline starts feeling like it pushes back. This one is about a lifeboat that might have drifted into a different universe. Picture a small boat with limited food and a sea that refuses neat diagrams. The enemy here is drift uncertainty. People want a clean line from point A to point B, but the ocean gives loops, reversals, and sudden changes when winds shift. Sometimes the timing matches on paper, and sometimes it doesn't. The location can seem too far, too early, or too late depending on how the report was written and when people realized what they were looking at. So here's the correction. Treat the map timeline like a negotiation, not a verdict. Assume a range of drift paths, account for wind shifts, and remember near the coast isn't always at the coast. Then you stop asking only, how could they have gotten there, and start asking, which version has the missing piece? Maybe the sighting date is off by a day, or the position is only an estimate. Now we move into cases where the ocean may have returned evidence, but not closure. Number 8 is when bodies are found, but the story can't be finished. Bodies show up, personal effects wash in. Sometimes even survivor details survive as rumor. Yet the timeline still doesn't click because the missing link is often not the event itself, but the identity and the sequencing. A body can be recovered years later, and identification might depend on clothing, a watch, a ring, or what relatives remembered. Even if the recovery is real, linking it to a specific shipwreck can become a timeline problem when drift and reporting don't match. The breakthrough is to treat the found evidence like a timestamp with noise. Many maritime records were written down after the fact, from memory or second-hand reporting, not from a perfect log. So the emotional payoff is clear. Each unresolved link means a family history stays incomplete, and the map timeline helps separate what belongs from what just arrived. If you're thinking, so it's all about timing, you're on the right track. Number 7 shows how timing can be distorted by decisions made long before the wreck. Sometimes the map timeline is built on assumptions about where the ship actually traveled. A ship sails on a route that looks logical, Then later people claim sightings or survivors, but those claims don't line up with the assumed track. Back then, routing wasn't always a straight line. Weather can force detours, and captains can choose alternate courses because of fog, ice, or hazards, and a published route can feel more like a guess than a GPS trace. So instead of trusting the intended route as the actual one, you treat the actual route as something you infer. Map overlays help you compare likely storm corridors, prevailing winds, and where items were found. The payoff is bigger than one case. When a survival story stays unresolved, it's sometimes not because the sea won't cooperate, but because the map timeline started from the wrong place. Number 6 is the survivor report that changed depending on who told it. Trauma shifts memory, but the navigation details can bend first, so the map timeline has to be compared against independent weather and search patterns. Number 5 then focuses on the coastline itself. A found ashore case can depend on which beach was meant, because currents and wind steer debris to different stretches of coast.